So I just want to start by saying this is not an 100% overview of the SART process. I'm not going to present any technical issues regarding to applications or accessing our systems. It's just a general overview of the SART process. So I'll begin with saying that. So most of you are probably familiar with the SART, SARF, Service Amendment Request Form. It was a paper version of us of this tool, where care managers will fill out those forms and email it to us. The SART, S-A-R-T, Service Amendment Request Tool, is the electronic version of that form. And instead of a paper form emailed to us, this form is actually completed in choices and submitted to the regional field office for processing. What is the advantage? What was the advantage, great advantage of this SART? Is just the fact that it affords the DDRO to collect data on what was submitted, what the individuals were receiving, and also to track the process itself. When was the SART submitted? How long did it take us to complete the process and submit it? And also, but most especially, to track the services that individuals were receiving. In the past, with paper version, it was sometimes almost impossible because you have to look to so many places to find it. The SART eliminated that, where all the services are tracked and collected with one application. The SART also afforded the regional field office a better communication with the CCOs. Communication is real and real time, and you can the CCOs can track what we ask for and when we can receive information back once it is completed. So it kind of afforded a better tracking communication both ways. When was the SART introduced, or when was it implemented? Originally, it was implemented on January 24th. It was where the cutoff for the SART, paper SART, was January 24th, 2024. And then the SART, the following day, January 25, 2024, was the implementation of the SART. At that point, the DDRO was, you can no longer submit SARTs to the choices, to the mailbox like you did in the past. It will be an electronic version of the form. The DDRO, the OPWDD did allow for the SART, previously submitted SARTs to be processed for a while, all till March 1st, 2024. On March 2024, we sunsetted the SART completely and required all any new or if previously submitted SARTs to be resubmitted as a SART. The mailbox was closed, and so beginning March 1st, the OPWDD no longer accepted paper SARTs, and we asked that each care manager resubmit any outstanding SARTs as a SART. It is interesting to point out that the interface in choices for the SARTs, for the regional field office services, and for the care managers is somewhat different. And so for that reason, each CCO, we are required to identify a SART lead, an expert that have been trained by the OPWDD to provide the implementation on the CCO side. So we were not responsible for implementing that on the CCO side. They each had a SART lead who implemented that process for them, also provided ongoing support post-implementation to these care managers. The regional field office were also trained, who were trained on how to receive and process SARTs once implemented. When do you submit a SART? Just like the SART service amendment, a person who is OPWDD eligible, is waiver enrolled, and is seeking to amend your service can submit a SART. So a SART can be submitted for a change in service amount, or the provider itself. You want to change your provider, or you want to make changes to your currently authorized waiver services, or for authorization of a new waiver service, you can submit a SART. Upon the implementation of the SART, there were some assessments that were required for us to process a SART. Those included a DDP2, CANS or CAS for individuals who are under 18 or above 18. We are required to be completed before we can process a service amendment or SART. There were exceptions, though, for those people who were provisional and who we are requesting changes to your services, already receiving services. In some cases, we were required to waive the CAS or CANS assessment because they were already authorized. They were only making changes to a provider, not changes to the service itself. Now, what changes, what are the differences from the SOF and the SOTs? Just minor changes or service options that were removed and added. For the SOT, we removed Community Transition Services, CTS, but instead OPWDD added residential services in facilities certified or operated by OPWDD, which was not in the SOF previously. That service option was not added. OPWDD also removed some unique services, waiver services such as environmental modifications, no longer on the SART, but added self-direction when someone is seeking self-direction newly for the first time with budget authority, a SART is required. Or when they're seeking to purchase a service directly from a provider using their budget, a SART will be required. A SART is also required if someone is already in a residential facility certified by OPWDD, and in addition to that, requesting another new waiver service or a change in a service that's already authorized by OPWDD. What is the advantage of the SART itself? Information is auto-populated and not manually entered for services that already authorized. So for example, someone is seeking to receive or make changes to a service. On the soft form, what happened was that we just authorized that change. We don't know what they were getting or what the person was receiving in the past. It wasn't always accurate. But on the SART form, once it is processed for the first time, we make sure that all the information were accurate and complete. And once that information is documented for the first time, any subsequent resubmission of that SART will auto-populate all the services. So it was an enhancement in itself and the process, and we're able to document and follow with services that the person or track services the person's been authorized previously. If there are error messages, if a care manager is putting information, there are error messages, the SART will filter those information and give them error messages when it's incorrect. For example, if tab says the person is not getting this service, and the care manager is trying to input the service in a SART form, they may get an error message because that information is inaccurate. So it allows the care managers to really review the form itself and make sure that the information is correct. On the SART itself, on the paper, there was no filtering. They can put any information there, whether accurate or not, but the SART would not allow that in most cases to put any information that is inaccurate. So tracking with a SART was really an enhancement in the system. And once a SART is submitted, we are notified that a SART has been submitted. And once a SART has been assigned, the care manager is also notified that it's been assigned. So that communication is there almost real time. If it was returned, an email goes to the care manager, it's been returned, and to take action. And if it's resubmitted, we are notified real time that the form is resubmitted. So it truly is an enhancement in the process. What is the responsibilities of the CCO and the regional office? Just to make it clear, for the CCO, for the care manager, they must enter the information accurately, ensure it is accurate. When information is auto-populated in the SART, they have to review and make sure that it's correct. For example, auto-populated is getting rescue services from ABC agency. Care manager knows that information, their service is inaccurate. I no longer get the service, it's inaccurate. They need to contact the DDRO and walk through removing their service from their record. So that is one big enhancement. That way, any information that is no longer correct is removed from the person's record. If there were services that were missing, that also can be corrected. So kind of gives the care manager opportunity to review the person's services in totality and make sure it is correct. On sections 1 through 4 of the SART, the care manager puts their own information, their name, their agency, their email addresses, and phone numbers. Section 5 through 9 is for the care manager is to complete the services the person is getting. And then on section 10, the care manager signs the form and then submits. Once it is submitted to the regional field office, then we have to review the form for correctness against what we have in our system. Review, make sure that the services are accurate, and then we enter authorization decisions on the form. Make sure that the assessments that are required are complete, the CAS and the CANs, the DDP2 are complete. And then in section 7, we'll review all the form, all the information. And then 12, we verify the assessments and then sign the form and either return it or complete the form and authorize services. And we're going to get to that at the end of the presentation. Now, in the past, once the service is authorized, we complete an NOD9 and mail out to the care manager or uploading choices. We also do the same for SART, but what's the difference? For the SART, we only authorize service and that's it, whatever was asked for. But on the SART itself, all the services that a person is receiving currently is reauthorized. So every time an NOD9 is sent, all the services again are listed on the NOD9. So it's kind of you keep track of the person's services. And that's one of the advantages of the SART. So every time an NOD9 is received, even though no changes were made in services, we list all the services in totality on the NOD9. So I'm not going to go into the technicalities of the submitting the form itself. But what I'm going to go to is once the form has been submitted to the DDRO, there are several status. Or in the past, a care manager will have to call the DDRO. What's going on? I submitted a SART or service amendment form. I've not heard from you. What's going on? The CCOs and just have access to choices, just like we do. And they can view different status of the SART live, real time. What are the status they can view? Saved form. If the service amendment, if the SART form is saved, it means it's on the side of the CCO. They're working on it. They've not submitted it to us. So there's no need to contact the regional or field office because it is on your end. You're working on the form. It is saved. If it's submitted, that means it's submitted to us, to the DDRO. Once it's submitted, within a short period of time, usually we try to do it within 30 days, that form must change to assigned. It means it's been reviewed and it's been assigned to a processor to authorize or process the form. And the care manager can see that form as assigned. If it's returned, it means we reviewed it, it was incomplete, there was an error. And on the no section of the SART, we will tell you what is wrong, what is missing, and what needs to be resubmitted. So there's no need for a care manager to call and say, what is the status? Unless they are not sure or we are wrong in what we put on the notes, if it's inaccurate, they can call the processor and then we could go through with them and review it. Most of the reasons why we return SART is because the person in tabs is getting 7 services, clearly, RESPID, they have and all that. But the care manager indicates that they're only getting 2 or 3 out of that, which may be correct. So the DDRO is asking what is happening to the other services? Why are they not listed on the SART? Which is the case. And in most cases, guess what? The person no longer received those services, but they're still on the records. So we work with them in resolving that and making sure that the services is accurate. Services that are not active should be removed and then we resubmit the form. So the SART tool, in a sense, is almost an audit of someone's service. And once it's done for the first time, it cannot be, it means it's perfect. That means next time it comes to us, there'll be no questions because we resolve all errors the very first time. Hopefully, with subsequent SARTs, that will be resolved. If the form is completed, that means we authorize services and we sent out an NOD to the care manager, and they should look in choices and see the authorized NOD 9. If the form is withdrawn, that means for any reason the CCO no longer wants the services or there was an error they need to correct, then they can withdraw the form. The regional field office cannot touch any form that's withdrawn, saved, or returned. It's always on the part of the CCO to make corrections and resubmit those forms to us. So I'm going to stop there right now, not to get into any technical aspect of it, but I believe for parents, for the DD Council members, that an overview or general information of the SART form itself, except for the technical aspect of it, actually submitting the form will be something that you will be interested in, and I'll be willing to take any questions regarding what was being presented so far.
All right. First of all, thank you so much, Henry. That was very informative and helpful. Probably the most detailed explanation we've gotten with the change and about the whole change and why since it came out. So being the chairperson of the DD Council, it was helpful. Being a provider, it was helpful. But I do have a couple of quick questions for you. My first question is, I know with the CAS system, being part of the DD Council, we hear a lot of issues brought up from families that they're often inaccurate. And the fact that that's needed for this, is there something being done on that end, is it something you can speak on in terms of expediting corrections to the CAS to not hold up the SART?
Well, I think on the implementation of the SART, the OPWDD also implemented, expedited the process, opened a mailbox for CCOs to request an expedited process in processing the CAS. So they can submit that to that mailbox, and that will expedite the process I don't have that information because I didn't prepare for that, but there is a mailbox where they can request an expedited CAS or CAS review, and that will be processed more faster or more efficiently. But also, if it's an emergency or something that is special, they can let us know, and we can review it on case-by-case basis, and we can waive the CAS or CANs and process the SART. But with the understanding that a CAS or CANs will be requested immediately.
That's helpful. That's really good to know. Thank you. And my second question, so I'm a huge fan of going digital, paperless, expediting processes. But one of the things I've noticed now, talking with my provider hat on, the providers, the agencies are very clueless in this process, where there's very little communication with the providers while this is going on. And that's always been a concern of mine when we went to the digital form, because if it's a new person, like if it's someone completely new that we don't serve in any capacity in any other services, we can't see anything going on in choices. I know the care managers can. And you also know with the CCOs and the care managers, the tremendous turnover like everyone else is dealing with. And it could be by the time the SART gets submitted and then gets approved, there's 2 or 3 different care managers dealing with it, and the agency is left in the dark and we don't get the updates. I know you said when things are done, the care manager gets an update. Is there any talk about including the agency that's involved in taking on the service or getting approved for the service on that SART to be included in an alert process or some kind of notification?
I believe that question's come up before, and I believe currently it is the care managers, is the CCOs, and I believe some I'm not sure, Lucy, who else has access to it, but right now I'm sure it's only the CCOs. But the good thing about the SART is that a care manager can no longer say, be in the left in the, a new care manager cannot be left in the lurch as to what's going on. Once they get access to choices, they can go in there and look at that sort of and see what the previous care manager submitted on the person. They see that, they see, you know, so withdrawn, if it was in any notes from OPWDD about corrections, they can see that in choices. They don't need to even ask the previous care manager because and that's the benefit of the SART, the tracking process. It is almost real, you know, a running log of what we've done, what we've asked for. So we usually ask care managers to, first thing, if you don't have access, speak to your supervisor, take a look at what was submitted, see the comments we made. That way you can, you know, follow up on the SART. You don't have to submit a new SART because one already was started. In the past, once it was a paper, it is, you know, it's almost like there's a line in between that you cannot cross. So as for third parties getting access to choices, that's beyond my pay grade. So something maybe something
No, and
that,
I get it, but I
something that
wonder
you
if there's
guys
a
can
way
pull up with
you can
regional
bring
office.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's a way you can bring back that suggestion where maybe
It is
like
common.
so my company is Heaven's Hands. So if a care manager submits a SART and Heaven's Hands is listed as the provider, someone from Heaven's Hands gets an alert somewhere along the process that either it's in process, it's been submitted, something, because a lot of times we're left in the dark, and then all of a sudden months later, an email shows up from a care manager that we may or may not know. Oh, you're approved for services, and because we weren't kept in the loop, whether it's things were kicked back or whatever, it kind of maybe
Right.
fell off our radar, or maybe people on our end changed as well, and then we're left scrambling to try to help this family and get it up and running as soon as possible.
It
So if you
makes
could just bring that suggestion back to include the agencies in the notification process.
absolutely, it makes sense. It makes sense, and that would be, that would be wonderful if that's implemented. But at present, I think it is just, and that's why it's good for the care managers. Really, the emphasis is on them. If you have a good care manager that attends all meetings, that updates the team members of what is going on, which they should be doing, it can alleviate some of this what you just mentioned. But sometimes they don't. That communication is not there with them and the providers. And it kind of creates a problem. But the beauty of it is that, you know, any new care manager can, anyone in that agency, CC or supervisors can go in and take a look and see what's going on and let you know the status of the form or what was requested. But that's a
So
question.
I also kind of want to chime in. I do think that, you know, that's a very, very good point, and we can certainly bring back that feedback. But to Harry's point, because, you know, the care managers, they were coordinating everything. You know, I mean, the provider may know what's going on, but ultimately, you know, that information still has to come back to you, you know, from the care manager. So, I mean, if there are challenges, you can always, you know, reach out to us, the DDRO, but really it's up to the care manager to be engaged and for the provider to engage the care manager. There's a chain of command. I know it doesn't always work properly, but there are things that can be done to get the feedback that you need, you know, from that, from the CCOs, you know. Well, we'll bring it back.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Rochelle has a question for you, Henry.
Well, of course I do. First of all, I want to thank you, Nina, for arranging Henry to come. From a family perspective, this is the first comprehensive explanation that we have received about this change to the SART and all the differences in how authorization requests are now being processed. And I think it's very helpful. I'm actually going to encourage all the family advocate groups to actually look at our recording so that they can learn about this system. But I still have a few questions despite your very comprehensive explanation. One is, in terms of the CAS, I know there is a process to request an expedited CAS in the event of a need for a SART. I will tell you that it's not working all that well from the feedback we're getting. There's still significant delay. And in terms of the question that Brian had, in terms of if the individual, after seeing the summary, which they have to get within 30 days and sometimes get on the 30th day, so that's already a month that has elapsed, may have significant concerns about the accuracy of the CAS, The system for resolving that can often take months, and I can tell you that from personal experience and from working with many advocates. So the requirement for having the CAS will inevitably cause delay in the authorization process. And by having a CAS, it means a current CAS, which I believe the definition is within the last 2 years. So my son had one 3 years ago. So I actually asked my care manager, maybe we should apply to have another one done in case we need to request the change in service. And she was told that, you know, that wouldn't fall into the requirement for an expedited. You actually have to have a need identified for a change in service. So those people who have an unanticipated need in service will have an even longer delay because their CAS is considered outdated. So that's, you know, just a whole area of concern that I wanted to share with you in terms of what's happening in real life for people who are going through this process. Another thing that interested me very much in what you said, advocates are as self-advocates and family advocates are very interested in this whole issue of unmet need. And unmet need is defined as a service that may be required, but is not being received. You would agree that's a good definition, yes?
Mhm.
So the way, if I understand you correctly, the way you explained it is, let's say a person had 7 services approved, but is only receiving 3, then the other 4 will simply be removed.
No, correction, I'm sorry, let me correct that if that, I just,
Okay,
so big correction.
be correct.
If
Okay.
they were getting, say, 7 services, and for
Mhm.
any reason, the other ones were discontinued, were no longer needed, the agency moved on,
Mhm.
out of business, wasn't mentioned, we do not remove them. We have to have authorization from the family based on the care manager's communication.
Okay.
Family says, I don't need the services anymore, it shouldn't be on there, please remove. That is the only time we'll close it out, because it is not, you know, it's reflecting the person's total services, which will take into consideration to approve new services. So
Mhm.
if that is hindering them getting more services and they don't need it, they don't want it, take it out so we can then authorize even more services. But if they need the services, we don't touch it, we leave it there because it's their service, it's authorized. So I just want to make that clear. We only
Okay.
remove them if the agency is no longer even in the operation, the services wasn't even necessary, it wasn't needed, wasn't used, and I don't want it anymore. That is the only time so that's the correction.
That's an excellent clarification. Thank you very much from
All
a
right.
family perspective. But one more point on this, which is if you find in this process, and I know you will, that there are services that were authorized and are not being received because of a lack of staffing or other reasons from the provider, you know, the designated provider agency, that is in fact an unmet need. And so I would encourage OPWDD to start tracking those. I think we need data on this issue because we as family members and self-advocates, we know this is a real problem where people need a service or authorize a service and are sitting home because they cannot find the service. Despite the best efforts of their care manager, they simply cannot find it. So, and that could be even more acute in a rural area, which we are not in, but even here in urban Brooklyn, it's a real problem.
Yeah.
So, because of the workforce shortage. So I would really encourage OPW, you now have the means to measure this.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
it should be measured. So that was one thing.
I guess that's one unintended benefit of the SART.
It is an unintended benefit. And, you know, I really think having all this information,
right.
the electronic database is great. It will
Yes.
improve things ultimately, but there is, you know, we need to tweak it collaboratively.
Absolutely.
And
I think it is. I was just gonna also say that it's being looked at. That's something that we're collecting, and that's something that we're hoping that will help us, even in putting out, you know, requests for services, you know, for providers. So definitely that's something that's being looked at. We just also need to be getting that information and that feedback that the reason they're not receiving the services is because there are no providers.
Mhm.
So that's information that we need to get back. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. And because when we have asked this of OPW and at family stakeholder meetings, we're told, no, they don't have the capacity to analyze unmet need at this time. But I think that capacity is now going to be there.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy to hear that it's something that's being looked at, because for families, there's nothing more important and self-advocates than having a need and it's not being met. I just had one little, I guess not so little, it's a more global question, last question, which is, how do you determine not to authorize a service based on all of this?
Well, so first of all, there are guidelines. And in most cases, it's not even because we don't want to authorize the services. It's because the services that are authorized already either were not appropriately used or being used in a way. Say, for example, so it's not always saying we don't want to authorize new service. If you're asking for, let's take respite, for example. Respite is respite, right? It can be used in many ways in different forms. So, and it's also a part of a care manager, informing the family, providing adequate information to the family. You have respite. You can use it anytime you want for different things. If you're going away, that respite that you were using at home, you can, if you need respite where you're going or camp or whatever, it can be used in any way. So it's a matter of care managers, families reviewing services already authorized and making sure they are used appropriately so that they can use it. You don't necessarily need new services every time. And that's the point I'm trying to make, because we already authorize services that can be used for that. And the second reason also sometimes is when someone, our policy has been always to community inclusion, put everyone in the community, right? So if I'm able to go in the community, I have every ability to be in the community. We're going to look into that when you're requesting for services that will put you in a site-based, environment. So it's always those issues that we're looking into. We review the cases in totality, look at the person's records, look at the life plan, and sometimes the life plan is not even current, doesn't reflect the person. So we look at all that in totality in making a decision. In most cases, changes were made, things were updated and then resubmitted, and then we approve. So it is a holistic review of someone's, case records. It's not just a matter of saying, no, you can't get this, you can't get this. No, it's always a total review. And it's usually a QRT process where it's not one person, it's a committee who sits together and reviews that process. And again, you can always request a conference when we deny a service or ultimately, or a fair hearing, but a conference usually works and we can review the information and move on. But we don't deny cases because we just want to. It's just after a review of the person's records and we make decisions.
I'm kind of glad you mentioned the issue of site-based versus program without walls for day.
Oh boy, that opened up a can of but I don't.
Now I'm glad you mentioned, because that's the main that we're hearing, or the main discussions that are going on.
Correct.
It seems to be that the default position is that everybody should be in program without walls, and then you have to make a case for someone being in site-based.
Correct.
And many people feel like, I understand you're reviewing the situation, but we are hearing situations of individuals who clearly should not be in a without walls program. They, for a variety of reasons, and yet that becomes the default for everybody. So I guess it's better that this is clear, that this is the approach. And so we know best how to advocate for the need, and we also, of course, value community inclusion. I think we share that goal.
Correct. And I'm going to tell you, though, I've many instances where initially we said no, because the life plan or records were inaccurate. And then we spoke to the care manager, we reviewed it again, we asked for additional information, and we said, wow, and it was just an easy authorization. So sometimes it's just information we have.
Mhm.
We don't know the person, so sometimes, but we know them through the life plan, what we read, documentation submitted, supporting documents that were submitted. So we look at all that information, and sometimes we may miss something or something is not there, and that we ask for clarification, and then we process the information.
I'm sure it's true. They were missing documents from the life plan. I'm absolutely certain that's true.
I just
So-
want to say something before, because we're running out of time before we take more questions. I just want to, for families, members here or providers, they're, as you expect from any new process, the SART was a new process to us, to the regional field office and to the CCOs. We do have things that we're still working on. We're going training. There are issues that we're still working on. Most especially though on the CCO, the care managers being trained properly to complete the form. So it is taking a while, but I think we getting over most of those issues, ironing them out. The care managers are becoming more adept at completing the forms. So that was initial delays that we did experience. But also especially again, like I said, it is no longer a mystery. You can go anytime to choices and look at what we did. So you don't take the care manager's word for it. Oh, the DDRO is slipping on it. You can look at this, go to choices. They can go to choices and see a report of what was done, when it was returned, when it was processed, or when we asked for additional information. Is all real-time information in the system. I think there's one more. Somebody raised their hand. Maybe one more question.
Carlene has a question for you.
Yes. Please.
Yes, Brian, thank you very much. I came in right at the beginning of this, but I thank you again for this presentation. It clarifies a lot. One question or comment really, so I'll try to move quickly through this. I find that one of the problems with the last issue Rochelle isolated about without walls and more structured day have program is the lack of an understanding of the guidelines as to what the two, how different or how alike the two are. So when you look and you're trying to figure out what should they be doing in without walls, what should they be doing in structured day have, you're not exactly sure. You always know that community inclusion is a baseline and a theory that really should run through any of these to the maximum extent possible, of course. And it means different things, but we don't have, to my mind, unless I'm missing it, we don't have adequate guidance. I know for a long time, OPW has been promising some regulatory guidance on this. It's in their regulatory agenda and they haven't acted on it yet. So all I can say is if anyone's listening there that can do something about this, some concrete guidance as to differences would certainly aid individuals and supports to elect and to request certain tweaks in what is being offered, or just to really know what they're supposed to be offered in either one of these programs. And that's really just more of a comment than a question. So thank you very much. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that comment. That's true. And something we've heard it several times, and then we always bring it back to our administrators. So it's something I know it's ongoing. But I think the list of what care managers can do is being comprehensive enough in explaining, making a case for an individual, making sure the life plan is up to date. And sometimes it's a balance, what the person can do or what cannot do, and the family's view of the person. But if there's any need for justifying someone being a site base as opposed to, that can be documented in a supporting documentation. It's a separate documentation that can tell us, yes, they may look like they can, but here's the reason why. And I think you can benefit because this program has something that will really benefit them. Not just saying, oh, he can't go out in the community. That's not enough, so care managers should be, adept at presenting and making a case for an individual. And when we read it, we don't ignore that. We process based on individual basis, based on what is presented to us.
All right, I don't see any other questions, but Henry, again, thank you so much. That was so helpful and informative.
Thank
And
you.
it will be, all of our meetings are recorded. As I said at the beginning, they are posted on our website. So I'm definitely going to be directing families there when they have questions about the SART. So they don't call you as much. They can go watch your presentation and get their questions answered.
Absolutely. Or you can collect the questions and email it to me, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity.